is Chris McGinnis giving you word of a tsunami that has happened off the coast of California. Now, this happened at 10:44 this morning. Reports are 7 to 7.3 magnitude, close to the coast, 45 miles southwest of Eureka, California. You can see it on the bullseye map behind me, the epicenter of this quake. Chris, to me, one of the most concerning things is that the depth is being reported at 10 kilometers, which is roughly 6 miles deep, and that's, even though it sounds like it's crazy deep, it's actually considered a shallow quake.
Yeah.
And it's the shallow quakes that bring the most concern, and that is maybe one of the big reasons why tsunami warnings have been put out. So, and we're coming on the air because the tsunami warnings extend from roughly down in the San Francisco Bay Area all the way up to Brookings into Port Orford, roughly the Douglas and Lane County lines here in Oregon. The warnings were issued at 10:49. Right now, it's just kind of a blanket looking forward warning for the remainder of the day. And Chris, go ahead.
I was going to just say first, if there were to be a tsunami washing up on the Oregon shore, the first waves of that tsunami, and remember, these are a series of waves, it's not just one, would be coming ashore, well, just a couple minutes ago, 11:20 in Port Orford, then 11:25 in Brookings. And remember, they come in series, right? So you get one, and then they can typically build. One of the things that you also notice is during a tsunami is obviously do not be on the beach. If you know anyone in this area, do not be on the beach. Do not be near the water. Do not go out to check it out. There may be a situation where the water gets drawn out and then all of a sudden it comes back in at such a pace that you cannot escape it. So that's one big word of advice and warning to folks along the southwest Oregon coast right now.
Yeah, and again, this is south of Florence, not in our main viewing area, if you will. We're trying to get confirmation on whether or not, do we have confirmation yet, anybody? Whether or not we've confirmed that sirens are going off along the southern Oregon coast? We're working the phones. We're trying to get that confirmation. We're getting it. This is obviously a fluid situation just coming in. I will tell you, Clarion earthquakes happened. Okay, so we've got, in the warning areas, we know that we had the earthquake. We know because of the proximity to the coast and the depth that it does fit the criteria for potential tsunamis, and that's why the warnings have gone out. But as far as we know, we do not have confirmation of any tsunami action right now. And one thing that I know Chris and I are both trying to look for, and we're just not finding it, is NOAA or the Weather Service or USGS, they have not put out that we can find reports of what any estimated wave or tsunami heights would be. Remember when we had years ago when the tsunami hit Japan and we did have raised water levels coming into parts of Oregon. It was minor, but we did do some dock damage and that type of thing. If I remember correctly, we were talking about inches up to a foot in that area. So we're not sure if this is something that will be noticeable. We're not sure if it's something to really worry about. All we know is that tsunami warnings have been issued, and as Chris mentioned moments ago, it was estimated that higher water levels could be coming into the southern Oregon coast as early as about 5 minutes ago, 11:20, down from Brookings into Port Orford. This is from our San Francisco Bay Station, is that right, Producer Brandon? We know that the estimated time of higher water potentially from a tsunami in San Francisco is at 12:10 this afternoon, so we haven't reached that yet. They've got a chopper in the air giving you just looks at the surf coming in, but again, according to the bulletins that I've read, they wouldn't be expecting high water in San Francisco until 12:10, quite a bit delayed from the potential of higher waters hitting the southern Oregon coast. So the messaging right now is strong earthquake, just 40-some miles offshore from Eureka, California. Considered shallow in depth, about 6 miles. That meets the criteria that can trigger ocean activity in the form of a tsunami. And that's why the warnings have been issued. People are being warned in these areas to take higher shelter and be on high alert at this time. And again, this is not in our immediate area of KGW. This is south of Florence from in the Brookings, Port Orford area up into the Lane County line just south of that area. These are people that we're being told are heeding the warnings. I'm assuming there are sirens going off in the area. I can't confirm that in California, but basically that are out moving away from into higher land. Right now, it's quite literally a wait-and-see game to see if this is going to develop into a tsunami that would bring potential life-threatening and property damage or not. Anything new on this, Chris?
And just to reiterate that the portion of the Oregon coast, this is just outside our viewing area, but of course, word travels quickly. We're talking about Lane, Coos, Douglas counties. This does not include, at this point, does not include Lincoln County, Tillamook County, Clatsop County, or the South Washington coast either. So just the heads up on that. But again, the specific location narrowed in here on Southwest Oregon is Lane, Coos, and Douglas counties. Then we can go out just a little wider and show you the bigger picture that this extends all the way down to San Francisco Bay. Rod, as you
and we mentioned San Francisco. Their report is that if they get elevated water levels, not expected to happen until shortly after 12 o'clock noon. There's the epicenter map that Chris has just changed us back to. Again, offshore from, there was a 7.3 quake that was reported offshore of Eureka, California. This one's a 7 quake offshore from California of about 99 miles. A reminder that once you get one sizable quake, obviously 7.0 sizable, you're going to get series of quakes. So even if the initial estimates of high water come and go, we're not out of the woods yet. And I don't have the expertise or the knowledge in front of me to have any estimates of how long it would be before we would know if this is a continuing threat or if in fact we've dodged a bullet here. Tell me the harbor here again, Brandon. The Chetco River Bar camera in the port of Brookings. So this is along the southern Oregon coast where the initial estimates were there could be elevated high water coming in between 11:20 and 11:25 this morning, which was minutes ago. Again, the one piece of information that Chris and I have been trying to find that we have not been successful at is whether or not there's been an estimate of elevated water. I mean, are we talking about should we expect the water levels to go up inches or feet? That we simply do not know. We also don't have any confirmed cases of tsunami activity of concern at this time, and I don't have any way of giving you an estimate of at what point we would know, hey, we made it, a tsunami didn't happen, we're all okay. All we know is that we still have warnings in place indefinitely at this point from roughly San Francisco up into the southwest coast of Oregon. And again, we just showed you one of the river bar areas down there in the Brookings area. Mr. McGinnis, still surfing bulletins?
Yeah, we're looking. I'm now on the. We're on the tsunami warning page for NOAA and trying to find buoy reports in the vicinity of the quake and radiating outward and not seeing anything yet.
I've got to assume we're going to see those bulletins come out at some point momentarily, giving us some estimates of height and water level. We're just not getting that information in as of right now. Again, the Chetco River down in the Brookings, one of the live cameras we have to show you in an active tsunami warning, already past the time that it was estimated to start seeing an elevation of water. Now, whether that's in inches, whether that's in feet, we don't know. And clearly, just by looking at this live camera, it's tough to tell if we're seeing an elevation in activity or not. It is a dry, not stormy day currently, all the way up and down the coast, which means we're not seeing any elevated storm tides or high chop from what would be a typical marine forecast. Again, if you're just joining us right now, back to the epicenter map. One of the quakes, 7.0, 99 miles offshore down in there in Northern California. The depths have been at about 6 miles deep into the Earth's surface. That's actually considered shallow and meets the criteria for what can trigger a tsunami. So as far as I understand, it's based simply on the position of the quake, the depth of it, triggered these tsunami warnings. And at this point, we're literally waiting to see if we're going to have problems arise or not. We saw the pictures down in San Francisco, the Bay Area, where people are leaving their buildings and the beaches and are gathering into some higher land. We assume that much of this warning area, including up into the southern Oregon coast, the sirens have been going off, but we've not been able to get emergency personnel from like the Brookings area, for example, on the phone to confirm that or not. Do
we have any cameras down Fort Bragg, Crescent City area? Have we been able to see anything on there? Okay, sorry.
Just looking, this is live, this is out of San Francisco again, that helicopter shot producer Brandon. Yeah, so Bay Area, is this, we don't know obviously, other than looking at a highway, I have no idea what we're looking at. I assume we're looking at somewhat of a close proximity to the coast, but we're not driving the choppers. That's what they're looking at. I mean, this is, you would think that if something is going to happen, we would know it within the next hour, but clearly we don't even have the expertise to know if we've seen the strongest quake or not. We know we've had potentially a 7.0, and Chris, does it look like the 7.3 that was on the Weather Service's webpage? Were those two strong separate quakes? So one was offshore from Eureka. This one on our board.
A 7.3 was
45 miles offshore from Eureka.
They're fairly closely located, but yeah, it does look like there were possibly two independent quakes. One 7.3, and then the second one 7.
And as you realize at home, these quakes, you don't just get one. You get aftershocks, and it's really an inexact science to tell you if we've actually already had even the highest quake. So that's why there's such urgent need to be on high alert right now. Again, here's the tsunami warning area extending up into southwestern Oregon, including Brookings and up into Port Orford. Chris has
but not including along our coastline here for the Portland, Vancouver metro market, television market, not including Lincoln County, not including Tillamook or Clatsop County. You folks are not included in this tsunami warning.
All south
so at
of
this
Florence.
Point, the threat is, all south of Florence, basically from Lane County down to San Francisco Bay. And again, this just occurring within the last 40 minutes or so with that offshore earthquake. 7.0 with waves washing, possible tsunami waves arriving along the southern Oregon coast by 11:20, and we have not heard any of that. We have not seen any reports of that happening just yet.
And obviously, no updates on the websites that we check. Is that right, Chris?
At this point, no.
I know you're back there. Yes. So we are waiting to get new information to pass on to you. We're still not getting it, and you can make the case the fact that we're not getting new information is good news, right? The old saying, no news is good news sometimes. Again, the aerial shots coming to us from our news partner down in the San Francisco area where they have a helicopter up flying. And to reiterate, the Bay Area, the initial call for elevated water levels, not until afternoon at 12:10 this afternoon. It was the southwest Oregon coast that actually had some of the earliest projections in the 11:20 to 11:25 minute zone, which we are clearly past. It's coming up on 11:35 right now, so some 10, 15 minutes ago, where it was possible we would start seeing elevated water levels here along the Oregon coast, but so far no confirmation that is happening. So this is a live camera from the San Francisco Bay Area. It looks like they have the same weather we do, and just kind of a nice, quiet, sunny day. Yes,
Raj, just looking at one of the buoys out near Mendocino Bay. Now, this is not, very close to the earthquake, but this is reporting some what I would call anomalous wave generation in that area. So some sort of detection on the equipment near Mendocino Bay. So clearly that equipment, that buoy equipment, was able to do some sensing. I'm not getting an idea of any substantial change in the water height here or how significant it might be on, at this point, an offshore buoy rise of maybe 1/10 of a meter. But of course this is offshore, so we don't know how that necessarily translates to what that wave will look like,
right,
or series of waves will look like as they approach the actual coastline. Because of course you take all that energy, a tsunami wave out at sea is like a little ripple in the water, but that little ripple in the water then comes up with tremendous speed and force as it's forced into shallower water. That's the process of a tsunami. So you don't necessarily see a tsunami wave miles offshore. You only begin to experience it as it gets close to shallower water, as that wave energy then begins to lift all the water out of the ocean. And again, the arrival time for some of those preliminary waves, we suspected was sometime between 11:20 and 11:25 for Brookings and for Port Orford.
Yeah.
And as of yet, those are the areas in the tsunami warning. As of yet, we do not have confirmation or any quote-unquote eyeballs on that, or reports that there's been any anomalous wave activity along the southwest Oregon coast just yet. But you folks are in the warned area. Folks north of there, Lincoln County, Tillamook County, Clatsop County, you are not included in this ongoing tsunami warning for the 7.0 magnitude earthquake that was just registered this morning off the northwest California coast.
And all good information there. I'm just over at my computer, and yeah, we still are not getting any new information from our partners on projected water heights, that type of thing.
Yeah, the closest buoy that I have is that one out off the Northern California coast, some distance away from the earthquake epicenter. And again, it did show some Rod. If you want to come take a look at this, I can bring this up for your.
Let me break in just a second. We just got some audio, and we want to play it for you real quick. Here's the Douglas County Sheriff.
Lieutenant Brad Odell with the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. I understand that everyone is very concerned right now with the information that has been issued. A lot of you have received wireless emergency alerts on your cell phones, starting to gather additional information about tsunami potential after an earthquake. Here's the information that we're receiving here at the courthouse that we are able to share comfortably at this time, and it is as follows. There were a couple of earthquakes near Humboldt County, as we understand it, in California. As a result of the earthquake activity, there is expected to be some tsunami activity. To the extent we don't know, what we are being told and learning at this point is that Douglas County residents should expect impact along the coastal region for heightened waves and potential tsunami impact around 11:40. It's now 11:14 in the morning, so that's not a lot of time from now, but it is the time to continue to monitor the situation, gather more information. We do encourage anyone on or near the water to go to safe locations, follow those tsunami evacuation zones, but continue to monitor the situation. Again, we are being told the potential impact is around 11:40 a.m. today's date. We don't know the height of waves. So we don't know if this will be very small, maybe some elevation in wave height, or if this could have much broader or larger impacts. Again, all of this information is coming to us right now. We're gathering, we're assessing. The county commissioners, the sheriff, our emergency management team is all engaged and gathering information. And we are issuing some alerts as well to inform residents of the potential impact. Our recommendation is that everyone near or on the water go ahead and evacuate. Make sure that you're in a safe location and continue to monitor the situation. What is asked of everyone is that you continue to look to official sources for information. Oftentimes, people will post or share information, and there are, unfortunately, people within the electronic world who like to spread misinformation to scare or help to heighten sensitivity about a situation. What I ask is that everyone just look to that official information, follow the direction of your officials, and those official sources of information are going to have the best possible information for you. Again, just to recap, we know that there were some earthquake activity near Humboldt County, California. That activity was strong enough that there have been concerns of impact of tsunami. We do believe that, based on the information we're gathering, that there will be some impact to Douglas County and the coastal regions there. We don't know what that looks like. We don't know what the height of the waves may look like, but we do know that they're saying that we should expect to see some activity around 11:40 a.m. today. Again, it could be very minor, could have a little more broader impact. As we gather more information, we will share that with you. But again, look to those official sources of information as to what you should do, what activity to take. The last thing I'll leave you with is if you or your family feels unsafe at your current location, please go somewhere where you do feel safe. Don't need to wait for someone to tell you to leave. If you don't feel safe, go ahead and leave until you feel that it's safe to return. It's now 11:17. We'll continue to update you with more information. As I said, we do expect impact to coastal Douglas County to some degree, whether that's minor or a little bit more severe, to be around 11:40 a.m. We will continue to post information as it becomes available. Thanks for watching.
That was the Douglas County Sheriff. A couple more bits of information. We understand that the state of Oregon has closed all, this makes sense, right? All state beaches up and down the entire Oregon coast, just for a matter of precaution, access has been closed. That's certainly understandable. This just in from the city of Reedsport. Reedsport estimated wave height 10 feet. Could impact docks on low-lying areas immediate to the beach. City of Reedsport will be evacuating the Riverfront Way and Port Dock area. We will be evacuating the closures of the levee wall shortly. We have not been notified that people need to move to higher ground yet, but please be prepared to do so. And then Douglas County Sheriff saying, please feel free to go ahead and get to spots that you yourself feel more comfortably will be safe. The city of Reedsport has received a tsunami warning. Estimated wave arrival in Winchester Bay is 11:40. We do not have a wave height at this time, but again, they had a report of some 10 feet. And one of the updates that the Douglas County Sheriff gave us down in southern Oregon was that the initial reports were that we could see the first high water hit between 11:20 and 11:25 along the southwestern Oregon coast. Again, the warnings are up to an area that is south of Florence. But he was saying, well, the update information was now they were looking for wave heights to start showing up around 11:40 this morning. It's now 11:43, so all eyes on the South Oregon coast right now. And the wording from the Weather Service that comes out with their tsunamis, actually from the Tsunami Warning Center, which is up in Palmer, Alaska. Tsunami warnings mean that a tsunami with significant inundation is possible or is already occurring. Tsunamis are a series of waves dangerous many hours after initial time, and you are reminded that the first wave may not be the largest, and you're also reminded that the period of time for the tsunami is really a great unknown and can continue on for quite some time after the initial quakes that triggered it. We have potentially a 7.0 quake and a 7.3 quake off the coast of California. The 7.3 one was 40 some miles offshore from Eureka this morning, both of these between 10 and 11 o'clock this morning. And one of the chief concerns was in the world of earthquakes, it was considered to be a shallow quake at 10 kilometers deep, which is roughly 6 miles in depth. And it's that statistical information of the physical location of the quake that has triggered these tsunami warnings. We showed you moments ago, we have a live chopper from our news partner down in San Francisco that was showing some of the roadways to be quite packed. I don't know the area well enough to obviously know if we were looking at something that's becoming a traffic jam down there for people taking higher ground, or if this was kind of normal, although that does not look like that's a major stretch of road. You can see the chopper was flying right there. We do have an update on our earthquake map right now. Hey, Christopher, do me a favor.
That is
the yellow. Is this a change in the warning advisory on this map,
see if that
or
was
not?
the one. That might have been an aftershock.
I
don't know.
A reminder that these quakes, you don't just get one or two. You get a whole series. So this story is far from being over. I have no way of knowing at what point today we will realize if yes, we have elevated water levels with the tsunami that are threatening life and property along the coast of Northern California up into southwestern Oregon, or is there a time upcoming where it looks like the safe call will be made by the experts to track these events? And we just simply don't know. So that's why we are on live for you right now, passing along the information that we do know. The one wave report we had came out of Reedsport that said they could be looking at elevated water as high as 10 feet. You would assume that would definitely be a threat in some of the dock areas and some of the typical bay areas in that region. But as far as a statement coming out that you often get in these tsunamis giving us heightened water levels and estimated times of heightened water levels, we have not seen any of that information that's come out in the official statements that we pick up from the USGS or the Tsunami Warning Center that NOAA and the National Weather Service pass along, which is actually located up in Alaska. So this is what we're doing for right now. We are monitoring reports from different counties. We're monitoring our news partners down in the San Francisco Bay Area. Again, the latest report out of San Francisco was the earliest they would see elevated water heights was about 12:10 this afternoon. I'm assuming their helicopter, again, this is in the San Francisco area, is just showing us some of the roadways that looks like are in the hills with proximity to the the California coast down in Northern California in the Bay Area. Again, warnings have been going off, and nowadays, you have the sirens, you have people getting the warnings on their phones, and people simply being told to get to higher ground and to be safe. This is not something you want to be a tourist watching. You simply want to think of your safety first. And as Chris has really pointed out, this is not a warning as of right now in our immediate area. The warnings go up through Brookings, Port Orford, and they stop shy of Florence. But as a precaution, the state of Oregon has closed beach access for the entire Oregon coast until otherwise known for all state beaches. So again, all state beaches right now, access has been closed. People are advised to stay away from the beach up and down the entire Oregon coast, and you can certainly understand that at this time. Looks like they're, I just hope that's just a precaution. It looks like they've got a fire truck, some emergency vehicles there on site that the helicopter news crew down in San Francisco is picking up in this particular stretch of roadway. Chris McGinnis, I keep out anything else?
No, one of the cameras I keep looking at is the one on the actual ODOT page, which is down near the Coos River, where the Coos River comes into the Pacific, down near Coos Bay. Don't see anything. Granted, this is just a still JPEG, but I don't see anything immediately that suggests any type of landfall there at this moment.
Okay. Chris, do you have a chance to call the Weather Service and just ask them if they are getting any bulletins that we're not seeing, that have any wave height information in their local office?
We can do that, and the only wave height information so far that we've seen is that one buoy that is out, and it's just noted, as we mentioned, offshore, noticed maybe about a 1/10 of a meter rise in the sea level near Mendocino at the time of the earthquake.
Okay.
As you know, those small rises in very deep water, the initial signs of the seismic activity, they don't realize, and they don't look big until they get into shallower water near the coast, and that's the way a tsunami works. It could be just a little bump out at sea, and then it rises as it gets much closer to shallower water.
Here again is that warning map. Again, these shaded areas that stay basically just shy of Lane County and shy of Florence. So it's from the southern border of Lane County down through Douglas County and the rest of the southwestern Oregon coast is the warned area in our state. Again, beach access, though, from state beaches closed all the way up through Astoria as a precaution at this time. The good news is that we're struggling to pass along new information. I mean, let's face it, if we had dangerous situations currently happening right now, I think we would hear about it as a news organization. So let's take that as no news is good news. And I just checked, we're still not getting what I call the typical bulletins that give us projected water height elevations with times. Often they'll say I'm just telling you a story. This is not what's on a bulletin, but often we would see a bulletin come out that say you could look for a rise in sea level at noon in a particular bay area of 5 inches or 1 feet or something like that. We're not getting any of that information to us at this time. And our Chris McGinnis is working the phones right now just to see if there's something that we are missing, but nothing is coming through on our data sets other than the tsunami warning has been triggered from the earthquakes that happened. We had the report out of Reedsport of a 10, if I read that right, a 10-foot elevation in water height. It didn't sound like in that part of the shoreline that it would be that much of an issue in that particular spot. This is Crescent City, California. We're just running through all the cameras that we can. Again, you can see, all of the Oregon coast and all in the Northern California are simply enjoying a really quiet weather day, meaning there's no storms going on. There's no heightened wave activity from storms. So basically any ripple in the water, if you will, would be likely from tsunami activity. And right now, all of our vantage points and the information that we are getting in is that nearly all areas are reporting high standby and alert, but not seeing any rise in ocean levels that have prompted any other bulletins to be issued yet. So that's good news. Again, at 11:35 this morning, the city of Reedsport estimating wave height is 10 foot. Could impact docks and low-lying immediate to the beach. That sounds like that's an estimated wave height. We've had no word out of there that that has happened or that there has been any issues in that area.
Update from NOAA
Chris
to
is
come
telling me.
in around the top of the hour, which is about 7.5 minutes from now.
Okay.
That's what we've just heard from our partners at the Portland office of the National Weather
Okay.
Service, which of course their area of coverage does not extend to the southwest Oregon coast. We want to be very clear on that, that folks in our viewing area, our immediate Portland, Vancouver metro area, which includes the Oregon coast, the Washington coast, some of the Washington coast, Lincoln County, Tillamook County, Clatsop County, you folks are not included in the tsunami warning.
And good news there, and we appreciate our partners at the National Weather Service. Chris gave them a call just to make sure we're not missing anything, and again, sharing with us that they believe the next bulletin to come through their office that we will have eyes on as well is expected at noon. Now, as to whether or not that's going to have adjusted times of potential elevated water from tsunami activities, are going to have any estimates of elevated water heights, that we don't know. We're just being told that to expect some new information coming out at the top of the hour, which is coming up in about 6.5 minutes from now. And of course, our new newscast will be on at that time, so we'll be continuing to follow the story live here on KGW TV. So again, the warnings, basically, in a nutshell, San Francisco Bay Area, all the way up to the southern Lane County line. As you look at the map of the warnings that were first issued earlier this morning, and at this point are just up indefinitely until we get other word from what's going on. This was all triggered from a series of quakes. One of the strongest ones, a 7.0, and another one that was about 40 miles offshore from Eureka, California, was a 7.3. That quake had a major depth of 10 kilometers, which is roughly 6 miles deep, and again, in the world of earthquakes, that's considered shallow. And it is the shallow quakes that do the most damage. And if you think about it, that makes sense. And the proximity to the California coast and the shallowness of that quake, I'm assuming, is what has triggered the tsunami warning that we are on the air giving you live updates. But this is far from an exact science, as I'm sure you can appreciate. And we're really just now in a wait and see mode as to whether or not we start getting high water reports that would potentially bring damage to property and threaten lives. As of right now, we have no said reports, which of course is incredibly good news to continue to share with you as we play this waiting game. Chris McGinnis sharing with us moments ago that we expect our next bulletin of updated information from the Tsunami Center out of Alaska.
About 5 minutes.
At about 5 minutes, coming up at noon as we look at the clock now, just past 11:55 in the morning. We were looking at some aerial coverages down in California where our news partner has been basically showing us scenes on the ground down there as people presumably are getting themselves to higher ground and to areas of safety. Earlier we heard from the Douglas County Sheriff here in Oregon telling people to get to places of higher ground if they will feel more comfortable. He wasn't speaking out of a sense of immediate urgency, but he was telling people that this is a tsunami warning, potentially a dangerous situation to come in the coming minutes or hours. So far that has not developed, but urging people to stay informed from credible sources, news partners, sheriff's departments, and that type of thing.
Rod, I'm
as
seeing
the information
something,
changes. Yes,
and
Chris.
Rod, I am seeing something now in from the warning center in Honolulu that, as you can come over and get eyes on this too to make sure that we're not missing something here. But based on all of the available data, tsunami threat from this particular earthquake has now passed. This is coming in. I'm going to let you get eyes on this.
Yes. This is really good information. Yeah, national authorities will determine the appropriate level of alert. It's looking at the quakes that we've been looking about off the coast of Northern California. Let's just hold on and see if we get the bulletin. I assume what the Weather Service was saying is they were going to get another message out of the Alaska Tsunami Center. And let's keep our fingers crossed and pray that gives us a similar note. But Chris sharing that the center out of Honolulu, stating that their science experts believing that the tsunami threat of any significant water elevation, if you will, has passed. Now, again, let's just wait until we get the next report.
It does appear that has cleared.
Coming up at noon, and then my producer's talking to me. Are we still waiting on that, Brandon? Do you want me to?
Hey, Rod,
okay, I understand China's got an interview lined up for us with more information on this breaking news. Here's China Green.
Yeah, good afternoon, Rod. So we have Rhonda Bryan on the phone with the city of Reedsport. She is the city recorder. So we just wanted to talk to you for a moment. We just heard that the tsunami warning may have been, over with, but we're waiting to get that confirmed. But what are you hearing out there where you're at right now?
Yeah, so we are doing pretty well. We have our levee up, which will prevent any huge waves from coming over. Everybody here that is in lower ground has been evacuated to higher ground, which is locally at our schools. So all of our kids are in a safe spot. You know, downtown people are uptown. We do have our entire fire department, our entire police department, and our CERT team out around town working feverishly to make sure everybody is okay. Last we heard, it was going to hit, pretty soon here. But we do not feel it's going to breach our levee.
And what do you feel is next for you? Is it just a wait and see game, or are you going to wait it out for a few hours?
Well, we have an unofficial clear, but we're just waiting for that official clear. We will probably leave the levee up for a while, just to be safe. And we will probably keep our emergency personnel out and about and make sure everybody's calm and has all the support that they need.
And Rhonda, where you're at in the city of Reedsport, about how many people would you say were evacuated?
Oh my goodness, less than 100.
Less than 100, okay. And was that fire and police?
That would be residents who live in the lower ground. And I will tell you, the city of Reedsport Hall is in the tsunami zone, and we have not evacuated. So we feel pretty confident that our levee is going to hold.
Okay. All right. Rhonda Bryan with the city of Reedsport, city recorder. Thank you for talking to us for a second. I'm going to throw it back to Rod Hill here. Rod?
Yeah, big news. What Chris gave us the update out of Honolulu moments ago, and now the Tsunami Center out of Palmer, Alaska, making it official that all tsunami warnings have been canceled for all of the west coast of the United States. No longer any tsunami warnings in effect for California or for Oregon. So great news there. Now the Weather Service, I will tell you, out of Medford has followed this up with a beach hazards statement in effect until 6 o'clock this evening, just reminding people for strong currents and dangerous beach conditions due to the earthquake offshore and the potential of heightened wave activity. So that's the southern Oregon coast and up into the central Oregon coast. A good idea to probably stay away from the beaches today, as that special beach hazard statement issued from the National Weather Service in southern Oregon.
And again, the Oregon State Parks have canceled or closed all beach access to all Oregon beaches pending further notice.
Right. So, and we of course will be following that, and we'll let you know if those beaches reopen today, but probably best just to keep your distance from the beautiful Pacific Ocean at this time. So again, National Weather Service and the Tsunami Warning Center canceling all tsunami warnings for the west coast of the United States, which of course includes California and Oregon. So it appears that the earthquake, which was sizable, we had a potential 7.0, another one that was potentially 7.3 off the coast of California in the 10 o'clock hour this morning. The one I know was measured at a shallow depth of 6 miles. Sounds deep, but in the earthquake world, that's considered shallow. And those are the type of quakes that the Tsunami Center looks for heightened potential of tsunami activity. Apparently, the experts that follow this feel confident that there will not be any significant rise in ocean wave heights from that earthquake now moving forward. So, China, if I can throw it back to you. That is the good news here from the Weather Center. Certainly a couple of scary hours until we got the official clearance that the tsunami warning has been canceled at this time.
All right, Rod, thank you. So now we're going to go and have a phoner with Diego Milger, a University of Oregon earth scientist. So for people who are just joining, there was a tsunami warning that was issued that has since been cleared. But for folks who maybe just moved to the Pacific Northwest or have never heard of something like this happening, can you explain what that means and what it meant for something like a magnitude 7 to hit so close to the coast?
Yeah, good morning and good afternoon. Thank you for having me. Well, what it means is that we live in earthquake country in Northern California and Southern Oregon, and these events are a fact of life, and when they happen, sometimes they can be accompanied by significant tsunamis, and that's why we have these protocols for warning and evacuation in place.
Now, for those who do live here, the big one always is in the back of mind. Does this have anything to do to make us get closer to the big one?
Not necessarily, and that's very difficult to say. The big one is something that most folks here know has been looming for some time. There's a long history in the Pacific Northwest of much bigger events than this one, spanning back the last one to the year 1700. But unfortunately, it's really hard to say whether this one gets us closer or further from the big one. This event is comparably small compared to what we expect from the really big one. Even though I know it felt really strong to folks and that there's a flurry of activity right now, it's still a significant event, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we're any closer to the next big event.
Now, when it comes to what could have potentially happened, what would you have expected to see on the coast if a tsunami did occur with that magnitude?
For an event of magnitude 7, even for like the one we had today, even if it had produced a tsunami, we would expect mostly moderate waves and strong currents. Still quite hazardous, so it's really important for people to follow the directions of their emergency managers and weather offices and evacuate the beaches when necessary. But for an event of this size, we would have expected waves probably no bigger than a few feet. For bigger events like the 1700 event and the big one that folks have been talking about, then yeah, we'd expect something much more significant like we've seen in other big events around the world, like in Japan, Indonesia, Alaska, Chile, and so on.
So when this earthquake hit, as originally it was thought to be a 7.3, now to 7, is it normal for it to stretch that far and high on the West Coast? It seemed like there was an effect for a large portion of California and Southern Oregon.
Yeah, this event is in a pretty active part of our territory in southern Cascadia, and it's not in an uncommon location. Big events here, especially around the cities of Eureka, Arcata, Ferndale, and so on, they're a fact of life. So folks there in Northern California are very well accustomed to earthquakes like this. So while it's a significant event, one with strong shaking and the scariness of the tsunami warning, it's not unprecedented for the region.
And as an earth scientist, when this does happen, what do you do after this? How do you learn from this?
Yeah, every earthquake is a learning opportunity, and we use this to try to prepare ourselves better and learn a little bit more about the earth underneath our feet. We have hundreds of stations deployed all across California and Oregon that measure these earthquakes. So over the next few weeks, we're going to take a deep dive into the data and see what we learn, see what this one tells us about the place we live in.
And then in your opinion, seeing all the chatter on Twitter and local officials tweeting, pushing it on Facebook, us trying to do our job as well, do you think that we handled the situation appropriately, or do you think we have some learning to do as far as making the public know when something like this happens to keep them safe?
Well, I think time will tell.
Did we get confirmation that we had...
Sorry, there was somebody over there as well.
I'm sorry, go ahead and repeat. We just lost you for a second.
Oh, I was saying that time will tell. I mean, there's always, of course, time for self-reflection and to see what we can do better. But I'm pleased to see that people are taking this very seriously and are responding to warnings and messaging from their local emergency offices. That's really, really important.
All right, Diego Milger, University of Oregon earth scientist, thank you for educating us this afternoon. Rod Hill, it sounds like you have some sort of notification.
Well, we're kind of completing the coverage right now, just to restate that shortly before 12 o'clock noon today, the hurricane centers, both or tsunami centers, pardon me, in Honolulu and also up in Alaska, completely canceled all tsunami warnings for the west coast of the United States. So they feel confident that this threat is over. Again, the warnings went out in the 10 o'clock hour this morning. At one point, we expected at least heightened water levels along the southern Oregon coast as far north as the southern edge of Lane County, so south of Florence, to happen. We have no reports that that was the case that have been confirmed. We do know, at least down in the Reedsport area, that sirens were going, and we assume people took the warnings seriously and got themselves to high ground. But again, the big story at this moment is that what was a scare for roughly at least an hour and a half or so has come to an end. That the tsunami warnings have been canceled. And apparently, although the size, 7.0 earthquake off the coast of California, did not trigger a tsunami, or certainly not to the point of elevated water that there's any reason for concern. Now, there's still a beach hazard statement that was put out from the Weather Service down in Medford, reminding people that there could still be dangerous wave heights, etc., and best to stay away from the surf for the remainder of today. That statement out in effect through 6 o'clock. And until we know otherwise, all beach access, remember, was also closed for the entire state of Oregon for state beaches all the way up through Astoria. Not sure if that's going to be reopened today or just let it be closed, and best to stay away from the ocean until tomorrow. That's your update for now, China.